All right, so tonight, we're going to be diving into some pretty creepy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking black-eyed children.
Black-eyed children.
BEKs, as they're called.
That's right.
And we're going to be looking at firsthand accounts, analyses of this whole phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know, they're this like modern urban legend, right?
It is really interesting how...
It seems like it taps into something very...
primal fears, I think.
Primal fears about kids not being what they seem.
Yeah, the idea of childhood innocence being corrupted is definitely there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of these stories, they really play on those deep-seated fears we have about, like, the unknown.
Right.
Things that go bump in the night.
Yeah, it's like that feeling you get when a kid stares at you for a little too long.
Oh, yeah.
The
unsettling feeling.
Amplified to a whole other level.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is that even though it's a relatively recent phenomenon, this whole BEK thing, it still manages to tap into those primal fears we have.
Right.
That corruption of innocence.
Exactly.
The things that go bump in the night.
Yeah.
That feeling that something just isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to children.
Especially when it comes to children.
Right.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Like with the origin story of this whole thing.
All right.
And it seems like most people trace it back to 1996.
Yeah, that's right.
Abilene, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
A journalist named Brian Bethel.
Brian Bethel, yeah.
Had this experience.
That's right. Bethel's story is considered the starting point.
Yeah.
For this whole BEK phenomenon.
Okay, so what happened?
He described encountering these two boys. I think they were between 9 and 12 years old.
Okay.
And they approached him while he was parked outside a theater, writing a check in his car.
Okay.
It was late at night.
Okay.
And they asked him for a ride.
Okay, sounds innocent enough.
Right, like maybe they missed their bus or something.
You would think.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, Bethel describes this growing unease.
Okay.
You know, he couldn't shake this feeling that something was off about these kids. And then comes the moment that really like sent shivers down everyone's spines.
Okay.
He finally looks at these boys' faces and their eyes are completely black.
Oh, wow.
No pupils, no irises, just solid black.
Just solid black.
Can you imagine?
I think I would have driven off.
Oh, absolutely.
Like a bat out of hell, just like Bethel did.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned the eyes. Right? The black eyes.
Right.
Because that seems to be like a consistent detail.
Yeah, it's like the defining characteristic.
Across.
It's what makes a beak a beak.
Almost all of these encounters, it's
Yeah.
become like the defining characteristic.
And it's so interesting how it plays into something very primal about us, about humans, you know?
Yeah.
Think about it like eye contact. It's so important for us.
It's how we connect.
It's how we connect.
Yeah.
It's how we read emotions.
We build trust.
How we establish trust, exactly.
Yeah.
And when someone has those solid black eyes,
right.
It just disrupts that whole process.
It's like staring into a void.
It is. It's like staring into this void.
Yeah.
And our brains just, they don't know how to handle it.
They short circuit.
They short circuit, yeah.
Yeah.
It's unsettling. Even if you're someone who doesn't believe in any of this stuff.
Right.
It's still creepy.
Yeah. So Bethel has this encounter. Drives off.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the story, though.
No, no, no.
Right.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So he shares this experience initially just among friends, right?
Yeah.
But somehow it makes its way onto the early internet.
Oh, wow.
And it spreads through online forums and what we now call creepypasta.
Right.
Those short, scary stories often shared online.
Yeah, like a digital campfire story.
Exactly.
So this experience that Bethel had, it becomes this like template.
It becomes a template for other BEK encounters.
Okay, so what are some of the other common characteristics?
Okay, so besides the black eyes,
Yeah.
BEKs are almost always described as children or teenagers,
Okay.
usually between 6 and 16 years old.
Okay.
They typically dress in irregular clothes.
Right.
Sometimes they're described as wearing outfits that seem outdated or out of place.
Out of place.
Yeah, and they often have unusually pale skin.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the clothes. That seems to be something that just adds to the creepiness factor.
Right. It's like this kid dressed in clothes that seem too old for them or just out of sync with the times.
Yeah.
It adds to that sense of something being off.
Yeah.
These children look like they should be normal.
Right.
But something about them just screams wrongness.
Yeah.
And, you know, even though their appearance is unnerving,
right,
the truly terrifying element is the feeling of dread and terror that almost every witness reports.
So you're saying that even though they might look creepy, there's something else.
It's the feeling.
Going on.
It's the feeling, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like they're doing anything outwardly aggressive.
No, that's the thing.
Right.
They're often described as being very calm,
Yeah.
polite even, but that underlying sense of fear is always present.
It's like the fear isn't coming from their actions,
Right.
but from something deeper.
It's like it's radiating off of them.
Almost like something unseen.
Exactly.
So we have the origin story, we have the common characteristics, but we also have all these specific encounters that we need to look at.
We do.
So what are some that stand out to you?
Well, there's one account I read that really stuck with me.
Okay.
It was from a collection on Thought Catalog,
Okay.
and it involves this guy riding a bus late at night,
Okay.
and suddenly he finds himself face to face with a guy with those chilling black eyes
On a bus.
on a public bus
Wow.
late at night.
Yeah, that's
It's not some isolated back road,
right.
dark alley.
Yeah, a bus is like,
It's a place we associate with normalcy and routine.
yeah, public space.
Exactly.
Yeah, you think you'd be safe on the
Right.
bus.
Exactly. It takes that sense of unease and just plants it
Yeah.
right in the middle of our everyday lives.
Right in the middle of your commute.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's that story about the woman who finds two BEs staring at her from her third floor balcony.
Third floor.
Third floor
I
balcony.
couldn't even get up there.
It makes you wonder if they defy the laws of physics, right? Is there something more paranormal going on here? Or could there be a rational explanation?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, so another thing that seems to be common in these stories is that they need to be invited in.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
There's a recurring theme of BEs needing permission
Yeah.
to enter.
Like they can't just barge in.
Right, they need an invitation.
It's like vampire lore.
Exactly.
And then there's that story about the guy who finds the word soon scratched on his door after he refuses entry to a beak.
Oh, yeah, that one's creepy.
And a lingering threat.
It is. It introduces this element of suspense, a sense of impending doom
Right.
that lingers even after the encounter is over.
Like what happens if you don't let them in?
Exactly. What happens if you don't let him in?
What happens if you do?
Right.
There's this story about this couple in Vermont.
Oh, yeah.
They let 2 BEKs into their home during a snowstorm.
During a snowstorm, yeah.
And some pretty bad stuff starts happening.
Oh, that's a particularly unsettling story.
What happens?
So after the couple lets the BEKs in, the husband starts having nosebleeds.
Okay.
Power goes out.
Okay.
Then their cats go missing
Oh, no.
and are later found dead.
Oh, that's awful.
And as if that wasn't enough, the husband eventually develops an aggressive form of cancer.
Oh, my gosh. It's like a horror movie.
It is unfolding in real life.
It really is. But there's no proof that any of these events were caused by the BEKs.
No concrete proof, no.
Right. But
the timing, the nature of the occurrences,
it's just too weird
it's too eerie to ignore.
to ignore. Yeah.
It makes you wonder,
Makes you wonder.
are there consequences
Yeah.
to breaking that taboo?
Right.
Inviting the unknown into your home.
And it's not just the potential for bad things to happen.
Right.
It's like this feeling of being drawn to them,
Yeah.
even against your better judgment.
It's like this overwhelming urge
Right.
to comply with their requests,
Yeah.
even when you're terrified.
Like some kind of
Almost like a hypnotic
hypnotic.
or persuasive power.
Yeah, like they're controlling you.
It's a recurring theme that really adds to the mystery of these encounters.
I remember reading this one account where this guy described feeling his hand involuntarily reaching for his car door handle,
Wow.
even though he was terrified of the BE case outside.
That must be a terrifying experience.
Yeah. And it seems like,
It really speaks to the power of whatever force is at work here,
right.
whether it's psychological or something more paranormal.
Yeah.
But that feeling of compulsion
Yeah.
is a fascinating piece of the puzzle.
What do you think is going on there?
I don't know, is it some kind of mind control?
Yeah.
Manipulation of our primal instincts?
Or something else entirely.
Yeah, something else entirely.
What I find so fascinating about these accounts is how the witnesses often describe feeling like they're losing control.
Right, like something else is taking over.
Yeah.
And that feeling of losing control, of being at the mercy of something unknown and potentially dangerous,
Right.
really taps into a primal fear that's deeply ingrained in the human psyche.
It's like the fear of the predator,
Yes,
the fear of the unknown,
absolutely.
the fear that something can override our own will.
And force us to act against our best interests.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about that feeling of compulsion.
Yeah, the feeling of being drawn to them,
Mhm.
even when you're terrified.
Yeah. Could there be like a scientific explanation for that?
You know, that's a question that's sparked a lot of debate, speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, some people believe
Right.
VEKs might be using some kind of supernatural power
Right.
to influence their victims. But, you know, before we jump to paranormal conclusions,
Right.
I think it's worth considering some psychological explanations as well.
Right. But that doesn't explain the consistency of the black eyes across so many different accounts.
Right.
What about the people that claim to have seen them in broad daylight?
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
And it's one that skeptics often raise. But even if we set aside the black eyes for a moment,
Okay.
you know, that feeling of compulsion itself
Right.
could have a psychological basis.
Okay.
Think about the fight or flight response.
Right.
When we're faced with a threat, our bodies go into survival mode.
Right.
But sometimes, instead of fighting or fleeing,
Okay.
we freeze.
Like a deer in headlights.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like a primal instinct that might be kicking in for some of these witnesses.
No.
They're faced with something that terrifies them,
Right.
something they don't understand,
Right.
and their brains,
Yeah.
in a strange twist of survival logic,
Okay.
tell them to submit.
So instead of running away, which would be the logical response,
You would think, right?
they feel compelled to do what the BEKs ask.
It's a possibility.
Wow. Okay.
And then there's also the power of suggestion to consider.
Okay.
You know, if you've already heard stories about beaks,
Right.
and you're in a situation that triggers anxiety or fear,
Okay.
your brain might fill in the blanks,
Right.
create a perception that aligns with your expectations.
So it's like our own minds are playing tricks on us.
It's a possibility, yeah. And let's not forget the impact of urban legends and folklore.
Right.
BEKs, they share similarities with tales of vampires, demons,
Right.
even the Men in Black. These stories are embedded in our cultural consciousness.
Right.
They might be influencing how witnesses perceive these encounters.
So you're saying people might be seeing what they expect to see?
It's a theory worth considering.
Or what they've been primed to believe?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's the question of the black eyes themselves.
Right.
From a purely biological standpoint, solid black eyes with no visible pupils or irises
Yeah.
are virtually impossible.
Right.
Our eyes just don't work that way.
So if it's not some paranormal entity
Right.
controlling their minds or a medical anomaly,
Yeah.
what are we left with?
Well, one possibility is that witnesses are misinterpreting what they're seeing. Unusual lighting conditions,
Right.
shadows, or even the way someone's eyes reflect light could create the illusion of solid black eyes.
I've seen how, like, car headlights can make a cat's eyes look like they're glowing.
Right.
Could something similar be happening here?
It's possible.
Oh.
You know, our brains are constantly trying to make sense of the world around us. Sometimes they take shortcuts, filling in gaps with information that fits our expectations
Okay.
or our fears.
So even if we approach these stories with a healthy dose of skepticism, there's still something undeniably creepy about them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They tap into this primal fear of the unknown, a fear that's been with us since the dawn of humanity.
And the fact that we don't know what they want,
Right.
why they're here,
Yeah, their motives are completely ambiguous.
what they're capable of.
It just adds to the mystery and the fear.
It's like they represent this like breach in the natural order of things.
Absolutely.
Like this disruption of our sense of safety and security.
And the fact that they often appear as children,
Right?
you know, who we instinctively perceive as innocent and vulnerable,
Right.
it makes it all the more unsettling.
Yeah, you've hit on something there.
Yeah,
Like they challenge our assumptions about childhood and innocence.
they do.
They take something that we associate with purity, vulnerability,
Yeah.
and twist it into something sinister.
It's like a violation of a cultural taboo,
Yeah.
a reminder that even the most innocent-looking things can harbor darkness.
And that's why I think these stories continue to resonate with people.
Yeah,
Even in this age of science and reason,
it's true.
they touch on something deep within us.
I think you do.
A fear of the unknown.
A fear of the things that go bump in the night.
The shadows that lurk at the edges of our perception.
It's a fascinating phenomenon, isn't it?
It is.
And what's remarkable is how this legend has managed to spread and evolve in the digital age.
Right.
You know, through online forums, creepypasta websites, social media. these stories have taken on a life of their own.
Yeah, it's like the internet has become a breeding ground for modern folklore.
It's like a digital campfire.
Yeah.
With each retelling, adding a new layer of detail,
Right.
a new twist to the story.
And with every share, every comment, every click, the legend just becomes more embedded in our collective consciousness.
It's a testament to the power of storytelling
Mm-hmm.
and the enduring human fascination with the strange and the unknown.
Yeah, even in a world saturated with information,
Right.
where we have access to knowledge at our fingertips, there's still a part of us that craves the thrill of a good mystery.
Absolutely.
That shiver down your spine that a spooky story can evoke.
And the BEK phenomenon, with its blend of real-world anxieties and supernatural elements,
Right.
provides that thrill in spades.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that despite our advancements in science and technology, there are still things out there that we don't understand.
Things that defy explanation.
Exactly.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
It is.
We're not just exploring a collection of creepy stories.
No.
We're
no.
delving into the heart of what makes us afraid.
What fascinates us about the unknown?
How those fears manifest in the stories we tell ourselves.
It's a reminder that even in a world that's becoming increasingly demystified, there are still mysteries out there that we may never fully understand.
And maybe that's okay.
Maybe it is.
A little bit of mystery keeps things interesting, don't you think?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, the interpretation of these stories
Right.
is up to each individual. What do you make of the BEK phenomena?
Yeah. Do you lean towards the supernatural explanations, or are you more inclined to seek a rational scientific explanation?
That's the beauty of these kinds of mysteries.
What is it?
They invite us to question, to explore, to ponder the possibilities.
And that process of exploration,
Yeah.
of wrestling with the unknown, can be just as rewarding as finding a definitive answer.
Exactly. It's about engaging with the mystery, allowing ourselves to be captivated by the unknown,
Right.
and perhaps even learning a little bit about ourselves along the way.
What stands out to you from these stories?
Yeah, isn't the chilling image of those solid black eyes,
Yeah.
the feeling of dread reported by so many witnesses,
Yeah.
or the ambiguous motives that leave us with more questions than answers?
And perhaps you've had an experience of your own that you'd like to share.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this chilling topic.
You can connect with us on social media or through our website.
Because at the end of the day, the BEK legend is more than just a collection of spooky stories. It's a reflection of our cultural anxieties,
Right.
our fascination with the unexplained,
Yeah.
and our enduring need to make sense of the world around us,
Right.
even when it seems to defy logic and reason.
So what do you think?
Are black-eyed children simply a product of our overactive imaginations? Or is there something more to these unsettling tales?
We'll leave that question for you to ponder.
Yeah, think about it.
But remember, if you hear a knock at the door late at night and you see those solid black eyes staring back at you, maybe think twice before you answer.
Yeah, it's a question that really continues to fascinate people,
Oh, yeah.
frighten people, and what's so compelling about it is that there's no easy answer.
Right.
We've explored all these possible explanations,
Right.
paranormal and psychological, but the BEK phenomenon, it remains shrouded in mystery.
Right. And maybe that's part of what keeps us coming back to these stories.
Could be.
There's definitely a thrill in exploring the unexplained.
Oh, absolutely.
That shiver down your spine when you hear a really good ghost story.
It's true.
Even if you don't believe in ghosts.
Right.
And I think the BK legend, it just taps into that primal fear of the unknown.
Yeah, that sense that there are things out there that we just can't comprehend.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even in our technologically advanced world, where we have access to so much information,
Right.
there are still mysteries that defy explanation.
And perhaps, in a way, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of misery keeps life interesting.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we don't have all the answers.
That's right.
That there are still things out there that can surprise us,
Challenge our beliefs.
challenge our beliefs and make us question what we thought we knew.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, that's what makes the BEK legend so enduring.
It forces us to confront the unknown, to grapple with our fears, to really examine the boundaries of what we believe is possible.
Well, we've had a lot to think about during this deep dive.
We have.
I know I'll be looking over my shoulder next time I'm out late at night.
Me too. But on a serious note, I think it's important to remember that while these stories can be unsettling,
Yeah.
they can also be a source of fascination and intellectual curiosity.
Exactly. They remind us that there's still a sense of wonder in the world. That
Yeah.
there are things out there that we may never fully understand.
Right.
And who knows, maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe it is.
A little mystery keeps life exciting.
Well said.
So we want to thank you for joining us
Yes, thank you.
on this deep dive into the unsettling world of black-eyed children.
We hope you found it insightful
Thought-provoking.
and maybe just a little bit spooky.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and sleep tight.
Sweet dreams.